Carlos Alcaraz wins Wimbledon 23 in stunning fashion, beating seven-time champion Novak Djokovic to win his second major title, his first Wimbledon title, and to stop Novak Djokovic's dominance at Wimbledon, who'd won the last 4 Wimbledons. An incredible performance, a thrilling 5-set match, and I tell you what, we have a lot to break down. For those of you who haven't watched the match, this is going to be a spoiler, so do click off the video now if you don't know what the score was, etc. I'm going to bring it up now. So you can see here, Alcaraz won 1-6, 7-6, 6-1, 3-6, 6-4. It was a topsy-turvy match. He was a set down, then Djokovic took the next... Well, sorry, he was a set down, then he took the next 2 after that, which was very, very impressive. And then after that, Alcaraz had to fight hard in the 5th set, in a deciding 5th set, which, in all honesty, I thought Djokovic was going to take. I was doing the live commentary and watch along for it. Thank you to everyone that joined in for that. But this was an incredible match. Honestly, it had everything that you could ask for in an all-time classic. And this is going to go down as an all-time classic. I'm not going to say why rank it, because there's probably recency bias involved. But this was incredible. It really was. And Carlos Alcaraz did something that I haven't seen someone do in a long, long time. There's a lot of comparisons that were drawn between himself and Rafa Nadal in 2006, when, of course, he came up against Roger Federer. And he, again, Alcaraz coming into as a 20-year-old, it seemed like he would potentially struggle to beat Djokovic, who was so experienced and incredibly good, of course, on the surface, one of the best grass court players of all time. However, he managed to do what Nadal couldn't do against Federer when they played in 2006, which is win. Because Nadal took the first year in 2006 and lost in 4 sets. Second year in 2007, he lost in 5 sets. And then the third year in 2008, he won in 5 sets. Now, I don't want to do, go into massive detail about the comparison, because I think we have to factor in the fact that maybe Federer was in his prime at that time. I think Djokovic, of course, at 36 years old, it's incredible what he's doing, but he's not in his prime. We have to admit that. But what Alcaraz has done is incredible. Now, is this the passing of the torch that's happened? It very well could be, because Alcaraz has done something that no one else has been able to do, which is beat Djokovic in the final since Andy Murray beat him in 2013 in the Wimbledon final. He went almost 10 years or more than, almost 10 years unbeaten on centre court. And it's just unbelievable. Honestly, incredible from Alcaraz. The tennis on display. Also, how he managed to hold his nerve. He had one championship point at 40-30 on his serve, and he held his nerve incredibly well. This kid is special. This kid is very, very special. Look, I'm not going to go into massive tactical breakdown, because we're going to be doing collaborations with other channels as well. I'm going to be breaking down the tournament as a whole and going into it in depth. But what I will say is Alcaraz played a really good match, especially on serve, I thought. He served really well in spots, especially during the sets that he won, of course. And there wasn't much in this match, I have to be honest. I really have to be honest. So I'm going to try and keep it succinct. Alcaraz, he served well. He hit his spots, especially with the first serve. And we can see here, first serve percentage pretty much the same for both. First serve points won, though. Alcaraz besting Djokovic in that aspect at 70% compared to 62%. But honestly, even though it was a grass court match at Wimbledon, it did come across like a match where there are always going to be chances to break. And that's a testament to both these players, because not only their returning ability, but more in the points, whenever someone looked like they were going to be on the offensive and win the point, there were so many instances where the opponent, either Alcaraz or Djokovic, would flip the rally on its head and they would be the aggressor. It looked like they would win. And then there were almost these ebbs and flows in multiple of the long points where you just didn't really know who was going to win, because they were so dominant in parts of the rally, and then suddenly they get neutralized. And it was just incredible defensive work from both to do that. Second serve points won 50% compared to 56% for Djokovic, and break points saved. I mean, you can see here 10 out of 15 for Alcaraz, and Djokovic had to face more, which in the end was a deciding factor. 14 out of 19 saved. How many break point opportunities, right, for both? Winners to unforced errors, 66 for Alcaraz, 45 unforced errors for him, 32 winners for Djokovic, and 40 unforced errors. I mean, We'll talk about that in a second. Net points won. We did say that Alcaraz would have to come forward more. He did. 28 out of 46 times he was successful at 61%. Djokovic was successful 39 out of 65 times, which is 60%. So about the same, to be fair. So, what are the glaring things from there? Well, the unforced error count, of course, is something to, of course, note. And also, I think we have to talk about the physicality, because going into this, I did say that I think the longer the rally goes, the less chance Alcaraz has of winning points. I think he needs to keep it short. He needs to come to the net a lot. But you can see in those stats, he actually came to the net less than Djokovic, and he still won. Why? There's a few factors. Number one, he was able to go toe-to-toe physically with Djokovic. There was no issues with cramping or physical issues. He went 5 sets and looked perfectly fine throughout. That first set was not, in my opinion anyway, down to nerves, although I guess we'll hear from him post-match about what might have happened there if they do ask him. I think it was more just to a lack of rhythm. Djokovic came out quite quickly, which he did against Alcaraz in the semi-final of Roland Garros. And Alcaraz, it didn't look like nerves. It just looked like he was not timing the ball very well and he was struggling. There were also windy conditions. The roof was open, which I do think was an advantage to Alcaraz throughout the whole match anyway, longer term. Not in terms of being an advantage that he should have been the favourite, but I think in indoor conditions at Wimbledon, Djokovic is the best indoor player that I've ever seen in my life, and the best indoor player ever, I think, and that would have been a bigger advantage for Djokovic, who went into this match the favourite. So that first set, I think, is a lack of rhythm. He was spraying the ball around a lot. The serve wasn't really working. He was trying to go big, but wasn't really hitting spots very well. And the return, he was struggling to return Djokovic's serve, especially the wide serve out wide from the juice, which is really effective throughout the whole match, to be fair, for Djokovic. Used that slice serve out wide and then went forehand on the line. Came to the net a lot, which is why, he did win quite a few points there. But yeah, athleticism point is a really good one to delve into. We could talk about it for a long time. I'm going to keep it short. Alcaraz matched Djokovic in terms of physicality throughout the whole match, if not actually exceeded the physicality of Djokovic. And this is why I was saying the passing on torch might have happened, because I think we've got to a stage, which is pretty incredible, to be fair, if you're a Djokovic fan, that at 36 years of age, maybe Djokovic is not the kind of optimum physical specimen on tour. Maybe it is now Alcaraz. Maybe he's the guy, because there were a lot of points where Djokovic will say at the net, and Alcaraz was just digging deep, especially in that last set. And there were some points where, he was getting absolutely pummeled by Djokovic on the baseline, who, by the way, did really well off that third set to adjust his contact point in rallies. And rather than taking the ball behind the baseline, he was taking it almost 1 meter inside the baseline. He was happy to just take it on the half volley and try and take the ball early to redirect. And he just thought, well, Alcaraz is so quick, let me try and rush him as much as possible. And he trusted his timing. But the issue that he was having is that the rallies were probably not over when he thought they were going to be over, because Alcaraz just kept on getting ball after ball after ball. And he was coming up with these ridiculous passing shots that Djokovic would then come to the net and transition, which you'd expect to be the correct method and correct approach against most players. But in some instances, yes, the approach wasn't good enough, so Alcaraz would pass him, because that's why. But he'd done so well to even get to that point, Alcaraz, in the first place, he was saying the point. In other instances, it was just a ridiculous pass. And Djokovic is actually very good at the net nowadays, especially. It was just phenomenal. We saw some otherworldly tennis from both players. And Djokovic also had instances where, he was somehow managing to dig out balls, with so much pace, cross-court at angles, stay in the rallies, and then also defensively hit Alcaraz with depth, which I just couldn't believe in the ad court exchange, which was ridiculous. But what Alcaraz, I think, did really well, I don't know if you noticed it. We're going to talk about both these guys' forehands, and I'm going to try and wrap it up quickly. Djokovic's forehand was definitely off today. The forehand quality, I think, when they showed the Tennis Insights graphic, was around, I think it was 6.6. The tour average is 7.2. His average for Wimbledon was 8.5, I think it was. His forehand has been a real weapon, and it's been a staple of his game for the last few years really now. And the reason why is because he's been so good at being able to shorten the points when he can, also dictate now with that forehand. Now, the issue that he's having against Alcaraz is that he was struggling for rhythm, mainly because Alcaraz is actually able to hit the backhand line like Djokovic does, but not as well, I have to say. Djokovic hit some incredible backhand lines that troubled Alcaraz throughout the whole 5 sets. But there were instances where Alcaraz was hitting it well, and that troubled Djokovic. But it was mainly in the forehand-to-forehand exchanges where Alcaraz was getting the better because he was able to find these short angles, cross-court, flat, also with more topspin as well, deep into court. And he was finding this great variation on the forehand where you just felt like Djokovic wasn't able to find rhythm on that forehand as much as he would like. And what he also did really well was hit loopy forehands into the Djokovic backhand. And I think he figured out, which maybe a lot of players don't, that the kick serve to Djokovic's backhand is probably the only return that you can think maybe that's a weaker side. But what he did is he said, well, I'm going to go very, very loopy, a very, very loopy forehand into out. Into the Djokovic forehand, into the Djokovic backhand, and I know that he's probably not going to be able to hurt me. He'll probably get it back, but he won't hurt me. And then he approached into the net, and he had a lot of success with that. And I was really impressed with the intelligence because he would go into out flatter as well at an angle, but he mixed it up really well and disrupted Djokovic, who, by the way, in spurts hit incredible into out forehands at angles flat against Alcaraz. And also the reason why he won that 4th set for me, Djokovic, is because he utilized that extremely well. Took advantage of Alcaraz not playing in the ad court exchanges as well as he was in the previous 2 sets, and had Alcaraz in a lot of defensive positions on the backhand in uncomfortable positions, flat to that backhand side trying to defend, which is exactly what Sinner did against Alcaraz last year. So anyways, look, an incredible victory for Alcaraz. Let's talk about the kind of, some of the accolades. So he's the 3rd youngest man to win the Wimbledon title after 17-year-old Boris Becker in 1985, 20-year-old Bjorn Borg in 1976. And yeah, what is there to say? What is there to say? It's just unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. I mean, it's just class, absolutely class. And we'll talk about it in more depth. But the set point as well, by the way, was absolutely phenomenal from Alcaraz. I mean, there's a serve out wide to the backhand. Serve out wide and then forehand. He got a shorter return with a massive forehand cross court that Djokovic couldn't handle. It was just so impressive for me, and I have to say I'm so just excited about this potential matchup. Hopefully at the US Open. I'm getting ahead of myself. I know I'm getting greedy, but would love to see it. And it's one of the all-time greats. It really is. Let me know your comments in below anyway. Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Really looking forward to hearing them. And of course, we'll be doing some more in-depth analysis as well while collabing with other people. Thank you very much, guys. Stay safe and well. We'll see you in the next video.